Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you all. Um, see. All right. So, my name is Jonica Nixon, and I'm the program coordinator for the Ascend Leadership Development Program with ACRO. So, we're excited to be one of the premier leadership development programs that the organization offers. We focus on working with mid career, mid level, however you would define that middle space that we tend to be in as we're either coordinating, directing, facilitating. We maybe are not yet at the assistant vice president, or we're currently in the role of an assistant in some way. So we often define what it means to sit in that space and what it means to move or to ascend, as our name is, from that mid level onto the senior slash C suite of our institutions. What I love about ACRO and how we formulated the Ascend program is that it's not just for individuals who are in enrollment management. You can be in any part of the student affairs or academic affairs suite of services and niches and um, competencies that we tend to offer within higher education, but it also tends to be a very strong program for anyone, whether you're in a higher education institution or whether you're in nonprofit or whether you're in private practice. Like, what does it mean to be a leader and to think strategically about moving the needle forward? And that's really the crux of what Ascend does. Because we are an enrollment based organization, we tend to work with enrollment based leaders to understand what it means to drive enrollment, what it means to work with our diverse learners, and what it means to meet them where their needs are. So today we don't have a PowerPoint. What we have is a pretty dynamic discussion, and I'm super excited to welcome in just a few, just a few of them, a few of our graduates who recently completed their Ascend cohort this past year, and we'll have a Q&A throughout the session. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And if I don't answer, do know that I feel more than equipped that my fellow colleagues, my alumni, because I too am a graduate of the program cohort 2, will be able to answer. Most of the information about the Ascend program, I think, will be better understood, not just from reading information on our website, which I have here shared on the screen with you, but hearing from the unique individuals who chose to elect to be a part of this program and how they move forward. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off and if you have questions again, please do feel free to ask them. But a lot of the information you can find on our website, and we'll post that link. So I am showing you our website, and we do have a lot of information here with regards to the Ascend program. The application is open now. The leadership, so who are our coaches, a little bit about them. You can find their information, our scholars from this current year who are on the panel today, as well as our scholars from our current year, which are 2024 to 2025. And then you'll also find a lot of the frequently asked questions that we tend to get that we've compiled for you here. Additional information regarding important dates, program details, as well as the cost are also listed. But again, we welcome you in this conversation with us today as we talk about ascending to new heights. And leading us will be our moderator, Tony Strode. Tony?
All right, thanks, Jonica. Well, good afternoon to everyone. I don't know where everyone's from. I'm over here in Tennessee, and it is a cold afternoon. So I am trying to stay warm as we transition seasons. And sometimes out here, it feels like we get all 4 seasons in a day. And so, we never know how to dress for that weather. But anywho, I'm happy to be here. My name is Tony Strode. I serve as the Director of Undergraduate Admissions and Recruitment at Middle Tennessee State University. As Jonica said, I am a C4 now graduate, cohort 4 graduate. And the Ascend Leadership Development Program was transformational for me. And I believe the same for my colleagues on the call as well. So I'm excited for this conversation we are going to have this afternoon. And as Sarah has put in the chat, if you all have any questions, we're happy to talk about those in real time. I have a few preloaded questions for the group, but any questions you all have, we are more than happy to answer those. And feel free to jump on camera, raise your hand if you have any questions that you want to ask in real time that may be better than put in the chat. So we'll go ahead and kick it off, and I will pass it over to Leah, as I see you right next to my virtual square. So tell us tell us who you are, Leah, and why you joined the Ascend program.
Tony, I was hyping up the chat box and you called on me. That's my job. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, everyone. I am Dr. Leah Frierson. I serve as the Director of University Advising Leadership over here in the lovely state of Cincinnati, Ohio. Tony, am I kicking it to somebody else or what? Answer the second question.
Can you answer the question for me and then kick it off to somebody else?
So why I joined Ascend. So I've been in my role going on 2 years now and have always been in academic affairs, even in advising, and advising at Cincinnati is actually under enrollment management. And I don't know if any of you all were at SEM and had a chance to hear our little mini TED Talks, but I didn't know much about strategic enrollment management, what it meant to be in central strategic enrollment management at an institution. Wasn't sure if Ascend was even for me because I'm in advising. I've never been, in my mind, in admissions, but along the way learned a lot about just the intersections of all the functional spaces of strategic enrollment management. So that's why I joined, to learn more about SEM. So I am going to kick it to Bethany.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bethany Parmer, and I am the registrar at the College of Southern Idaho. I particularly wanted to join the Ascend program because I was fairly new in my role as a registrar here at CSI, and I just wanted to learn more about SEM in general because it is a main focus of our institution. And we were also in the middle of implementing some new software, so now is the time for us to really think about our policies, our procedures, and innovate. So this program has really allowed me to be able to have more empowered voice in those conversations. And I have also kind of worked more on the advising side and student affairs. So it was really helpful to learn more about enrollment management in general. All right, Sarah, that leaves you.
Awesome. Hey, all. So Sarah Reed here, University Registrar at UC Berkeley, and I applied for Ascend at the same time that like a month or two after I got the job here at Berkeley. I was shifting my career from more like, I don't want to say playing small, but that's what it kind of felt for me at the time, just smaller institution, smaller scope, and moving to a much bigger scope and wanting to make sure that I had I was sure or supplementing if I needed to my leadership awareness, especially with regards to strategic planning and just my elevated role with a very big campus, kind of a front runner. So I wanted to make sure that I had the strategic contacts not only within my profession but also with other people who had much more advanced roles, so that I could get all that leadership development and mentorship, which I really felt was lacking and frankly missing in my career. So that's mostly why I applied, but learning actually how to do strategic enrollment management was also quite interesting for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Strategic enrollment management was new for me as well. So kind of hearing that and then hearing that buzzword that we're kind of hearing a lot in higher education now about enrollment and the enrollment cliff. So it kind of for me was like, let me try to get ahead of the game a little bit and learn a little bit more about how we can be strategic in our enrollment plans and how that aligns with our strategic plans as well. But more importantly, I think the Ascend program, a big selling point for me was the diversity and inclusion of future leaders of higher education. And as you all can read on the website of how the Ascend program was started, was to diversify those chief enrollment officers or the next registrar, vice president, to be able to give us those competencies. As we know, sometimes those resources may not be available to us, are a little bit harder for us to find in the traditional higher education space. So that was a big selling point as well for me to join. Another question that we'll throw off to the panel, and I will throw this one to Bethany. Tell us how you manage the pressure of setting and achieving realistic goals throughout your capstone process or just throughout the Ascend process? And what role did your Ascend coach play in your development?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. This is a great question for me. So our institution, like I mentioned in my intro, is really in the middle of some huge software changes with our information system as well as our CRM and other platforms as well. So I will say that the day-to-day operations here at the college were challenging and a lot of hard, long hours, and just trying to meet expectations. But with the cohort, I think the biggest thing for me was having those regular check-ins. So I met with Jonica several times. I met with my coach regularly. And that was really what helped me keep going was my coach really encouraged me to take it one step at a time and not allow myself to go down these rabbit holes within SEM because it's very easy to do. But just keeping it basic and learning the basic concepts of STEM versus trying to get too far down in the weeds. So I think having that support system of the coach as well as the ACRO staff and the cohort was just instrumental for me achieving this capstone project and crossing that finish line.
And Bethany, can you just chat with us to let us know, she's underplaying, how many systems have you implemented? And because I think people need to know that that context.
I am pretty sure that we are starting implementation of software number 6 right now. So we have been through a lot since I joined the CSI team last June. So it's been a wild ride. Thanks, Sarah.
And just to remind everyone, ours is a 12-month program. It's not that anymore. But so Bethany's been doing this program while 6 software implementations plus the capstone. So just adding that context. You can do it. Basically, you can do it. If you want to do this, you can do this.
Absolutely, you can. It's manageable.
Sarah's our biggest cheerleader. Like I need Sarah in my pocket all day, every day when I'm having those imposter moments to where it's like, oh no, like I'm in this room with maybe some VPs or AVPs and they're asking me to report on this and you get kind of feel those nerves jingling in. Sarah's always the one to say, you got this, you can do it. You're in that room because for a reason, like you've worked hard to get into that room or at that table. So that's something, another personal thing, like that I've learned in this Ascend program with the cohort is that we all have worked to get to where we're at. Nobody's here by chance. All of us have earned these titles or earned these positions wherever we're at. And just by taking that first step into growing and investing in yourself, can get you where you need to be. I heard a quote from a podcast the other day, and it's you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And I think the Ascend program taught me that, is that I don't have to know everything to be a part of a cohort or be part of um, a group of individuals who may have higher rankings than I do. Um, I don't have to be great to join that group. I just need to start. And I feel that I'm greater, may not be a great just yet, but but I'm greater because of it. So Sarah, since you're on the line chatting, I want to ask you the next question. Tell us, what was your most significant learning experience or moment of pride from your SIM presentation? Because I know you had to pivot a little bit up until what, the day of. So tell us
I mean,
your
nights,
experience.
moments, minutes before y'all. It was a battle for me. I had literally everything in my work life due all at the same time and this presentation. So I was very stressed and I was working on it. I had to represent the cohort experience and I just with the election and all of that, I just was really struggling with like how to what to share, what's going to resonate and then like what aspect to share. So I've struggled. I like to be prepared. And so not being prepared was very, very stressful for me that I really was struggling on landing something that resonated. And so I wrote a few different versions of my speech. And until literally the morning, I wasn't sure what I was going to say. And my cohort knew that, and they were all very supportive of me, which was, it was actually what pulled it like at the end of the day, I was like, oh, this is what's most valuable to me. This cohort, our relationships that we've built, like the support we give each other. I am a hype girl, but it's because they all hype me up too. Like it's that mutual support has just been so valuable for me. I have a lot of contacts in the industry, but having this like more intimate relationship, professional relationship has just been really foundationally supportive. So, in the end, I did a presentation which was more like a love letter, a thank you, and kind of a reflection conversation to written directly to my cohort of just what some of the things we've been through and just the impact on me and kind of our lessons learned. And I think honestly that is probably my biggest source of pride. I think the pressure we all felt going into that, even though I'm someone who likes to present, and then I was like, oh wait, we're presenting to this whole audience and it's like at 7 in the morning, which is 4 a.m. my time, like whoa, and it's the day after the election. Like it just was a lot of context. I was very stressed out about it, but in that moment, it isn't just my presentation. Like literally everybody on the team who presented killed it. And it was so meaningful. I feel like it was super meaningful for the audience, but for me as a member of the cohort and like reflecting on everybody's personal growth and then their presentation reflecting that growth and then just me knowing that how their leadership is enhanced and just how they are stepping into that in that moment. It was just like this ridiculously awe-inspiring moment for me that I feel like is going to fuel my next 6 months. Just the most awesome feeling of accomplishment and pride and like awe for my cohorts and then also myself. So I think that is the greatest moment. And really it's the culmination of this program and the sport that we gave each other. Our coaches gave us, Jonica gave us, like all of it literally was crystallized. So I don't know if that's a great explanation, but I think really just being there and going through that and pushing myself and seeing everybody else push themselves through some real challenges and fear and then just excel so well.
Yeah, I agree, Sarah. And I think, having that opportunity to say you presented at a national conference, I did not have that on my vision board this year, but it's a bonus, right? And now I can take that, put that on my resume when I'm interviewing for the next position, talk about what we learned in the SEM program and how I applied that and presented that at the SEM conference. So that's another great opportunity through the Ascend program. And I hope, and I'm sure Jonica can talk more to that, but I hope every cohort at least has that opportunity. We weren't required to do it; it was an option. And if you ask Dr. Leah, she would say she was tricked into doing it. But we all had a great time, and I don't think any of us regret that decision to present at the conference. So for anybody who may be looking to get more into presenting or having an opportunity to present at conferences, this is another great way to check that off. Check that off your list. And speaking of Leah, I'll throw the next question to you. Tell us how the Ascend experience strengthened your understanding of leadership and enrollment, and what feedback from your coach did you receive that will guide your future development? And I gave that to you, Leah, because I know you're not originally in the enrollment space, so I know a lot of the information was new to you. So how did that translate over into your day to day?
Yeah, no, I think as I have learned more, I will tell you that, and I said this when we did our presentations, when I thought about enrollment management, it meant admissions, butts and seats. That's what I thought it was. And as I went through the program, we had 12 months in the program, and I think we had 12 amazing speakers, or probably more than that, because we met bi-weekly. So we had at least 15 or 20 folks probably that spoke to us. And I think one of the things that came out of that in terms of leadership, for me personally, is that I think that um, I describe it in SIM as systems leadership, which is something I was very familiar with, and that I coach my team in order to think about, right? And what does that mean? Because I work in central enrollment management, so central advising. And so what it did was it really just kind of reconfirmed the fact that um, we have the opportunity to work across many spaces in the work that we do, and that every decision that we make every project that we're on, every policy that we review and raise is going to impact our students, could impact the work that we do as a staff, and all of those things intertwine with each other, and how important it is to think about those things. And so from a leadership perspective, I think one of the things it's done is it's fundamentally just enhanced how I actually recruit people and hire people for positions, because it's changed how I actually think about the questions that I ask, in particular for the leadership positions that I'm hiring for, making sure that people understand how to think about these things from a strategic and systems lens perspective in the work that we're doing.
Awesome, awesome, Lee. And I think, and I don't know if we've had that conversation or if you all have already looked at the Ascend program benefits, but having a coach that you meet with, really the requirement is monthly, but I've met with mine sometimes weekly or sometimes bi-weekly, depending on what's going on in my current work I'm doing. So if I could, and sometimes those things cost, right? Like if you want a professional coach or a business coach, and you may have to pay someone to be that person. So having that opportunity within Ascend to have a coach that is given to you, and that is willing to meet with you as much as you need, and not only talking about what you're doing in the Ascend Capstone, but what's going on in your day to day. How can they make you a better professional, and also how you can help them with some things they may have going on in their work. My coach was a VP of enrollment management at another institution, and we would just have such great conversations on things that we are doing in recruitment and things they're doing in recruitment. And I could take an idea from him, and he took a couple ideas from me. So just being able to have someone on that level to build with and to put in your professional network, and to keep that relationship going. Just because we're out of the Ascend program and we graduated, we still have connections with our coaches. I believe each and every one of them has said please to reach out to them if we need anything, or just to check in, or just to have a quick conversation. So that's a great benefit as well with the Ascend program. And Leah, what else you got about that?
I was just gonna add about the coaching piece. I think one of the just in a place of reflection, one of the beautiful things about our coaches is that, one, at the beginning, I think all of us didn't know what we were getting into, and we were all very nervous for various reasons. But I think all of the coaches in the program really met us at our point of need, right? They met us right where we are in all of our sometimes fear, sometimes doubt, sometimes insecurity. And I think they did a wonderful job of just pouring in to all of us and essentially pulling out the best in each every one of us, even the things that we felt like I'm not that great at that. They had this very beautiful way of like, why would you say that? Let me show you how this is a benefit to higher education, a benefit to the area that you work in. And I just remember we had done our presentations, and I ended up meeting with my coach that night, and I said, you've been with me for a year. Tell me what you saw and where I can get better. And she just beautifully articulated so many things, and just things that even after going through the program, I still maybe had some questions about, and how that really is a benefit to the team and to the field of higher education and any work I want to do in the future, which just, fed my ego and my confidence a little bit more.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, just having someone who has worked with you for that year and to see your growth and then push you to new heights. My coach, he always asks, okay, so when are you looking for your next role? And I'm like, I don't know. And even at SEM, he said, if you need a positive reference, I know we have not worked together directly at an institution, but please put me on your reference list. And I mean, that's something that you just can't, you don't just find that anywhere, right? So it's great to build those connections. Sarah, I see you over in the chat talking about being more vulnerable and deeper dive into our conversations with coaches. So why don't you bring that to the conversation? What is your experience?
Yeah, thank you. And I also want to pause because I really am hoping for some engagement. I mean, I love doing this pitch, but I also do feel like it's a little bit pitchy, and I really want to just have space to be super vulnerable with you all. Like, i- if there's aspects we're talking kind of at the macro level, but if you want to like dive deeper on some of this, or just if you've got wonderings of like, well, what did you struggle with, and what exactly was X, Y, or Z, happy to do that. So I'm going to pause before I answer, Tony, and just see if anyone in the group, like, is there something that you're thinking or you're wondering? And if you are, please just share it. Because if you are, everyone else on the call is probably too. What would you like to know based on what we've said so far? Or what are you wondering about?
Leslie has a.
Le- Yeah, Leslie, what do you got?
So it's a cheat code question, but if I'm struggling with just the idea of applying and trying to get over that hump, what advice do you all have for me?
Struggling to apply? I think I would ask a more detailed question. Let me know if you're comfortable with this, but what would be some of the reasons why you're struggling? And I don't know if you can hear me, Leslie.
I can, like, anytime I see the word application, it feels like the word dissertation, and they both
Mm,
scare me
mm-hmm.
because now I have to start trying to tell this story about myself in this kind of with limited time and space to do so. Um, and and then I worry about, well, am I going to stand out? How can I stand out among the other applicants as well?
Mm.
What are they looking for? And how do I express that I'm exactly that and more?
Can I answer that? Or Sarah, you look like you.
Please. No, no, no. Go, Leah, you first.
One of the things I'll share, because, and I've dealt with this myself, is that Leslie, what I would tell you is that this is not a one-sided application interview process. As much as you want to figure out what they're looking for, know what you're looking for in a job, because you are just as much of value, adding value to them and them adding value to your professional trajectory as they would be to you. So that's one. And then one of the things that I had to learn is that I think also this, sometimes I think women are much more inclined to be this way, is that we feel like we need to meet all of the is there anything on here that I haven't done or can't do? And what I found in myself is that I have applied for jobs in which they are comfortable, and the failure rate is very low for me. And so then I get bored real quick. So I would encourage you, if 60% of the job you're like, I got this in the bag, then you grow into the other 40% and be okay with being uncomfortable in that growth.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. And also, Leslie, thank you for asking the question. I know that can be challenging. So great leadership there. I I would say I wouldn't think about it as like, how do I meet, echoing Leah's comments, but like, how do I meet? How do I qualify? Like, I would just say, like, try to strip that from your brain. I know we're taught to think that way about ourselves, and like, what it does is it causes us to overjudge. And I think my year of coaching has really helped me reframe that. So I try I try not to think about myself in a judgment way, more of just giving myself the opportunity. So I would say if you're interested in the program, there's a reason. If it's resonating within you somewhere in your craw and you're like, I really need this, or I want this, or I wonder, or this would be a great supplement, or I've never had this, or I'm curious. If like there's anything in there, or you have a direct plan and you're like, I just need some support, I need whatever it is, I would say go into yourself, because really the answer is always within us and our strength is within us. And we just sometimes need people to help pull it out and help us see what we have we're not able to see within ourselves with confidence. So I would just say for me, I think what helped me was I was very clear of like, this is what I want. This is why I want it. Did it mean I felt qualified? Because believe me, I didn't. And I didn't know how many people were applying. I also really didn't care. I just was like, I really need this, and this is why. And I think going at it with that perception is probably more advantageous to you, because what they really, I'm not reading the applications, but I imagine what they're looking for is just folks who know what they're looking for and who are making it clear to them how they would benefit from the program. Because that's what they're seeking to do, is find a good cohort with complements and, folks they can help. Maybe Jonica, if there's something more you could share about the application side, and I don't know if you can, but that would be my response.
These are really good questions. I am not on the selection committee. We do have a rubric, but I honestly don't look at any of the applications. I look at your answers, but only after you're accepted into the program. So what I know from the committee in there, and I have not even looked at the rubric to be like, oh, how did they rate so-and-so? Because I try to be very objective when I work with scholars. Like I'm just like, tell me who's in the program, who I work with, who I support. We definitely want people who are ready to stretch. Think about the person who goes through programs, and it kind of shows in answers when you're like, I just need a new program. This is not just another program. This isn't just something to do. We are asking for you to be in a place where you can connect authentically with other individuals, right? Because you're going to uplift your cohort as much as your coach is going to do, as much as I'm going to do. How committed are you? We do look for struggle individuals, but struggle often means stretch. Like, I want to stretch, I'm not sure. So I know New Soul put a question about imposter syndrome in there. Like, if we see a little bit, because you can be honest in saying, I do have imposter syndrome. You can be honest in saying, there are 3 questions. Let me start with that. And one of the questions is about enrollment management. So it's trying to understand, do you get the connection? Are you trying to get the connection? We're not looking for perfectionists. We're not looking for individuals to say the right answer. We're looking for individuals who would help build this cohort, because that is what we're doing. We look at it from a recruitment standpoint. We look at it from, we're bringing in a class of students, but we do it from an equity base. I can tell you the biggest diversity thing is we're not looking to accept 10 registrars. We're looking to diversify. So on average, it will be 5 to 6 registrars. But we don't say, no one's even looking at if it's a community college or a 4-year. We're not looking to say, oh, we're trying to balance community college and 4-year. We're not looking to say we're trying to balance male and female. We're not looking to say we're trying to get these many African Americans and these many Hispanics. We're not saying any of that. When I tell you we look at this blind just from your answers, that's what we look at. We don't even ask if you're male or female until you get in the program, because it doesn't matter. We're looking to build a cohort that can support one another. So oftentimes I don't even see faces until I'm like, oh, this is the cohort. And then from there, usually, and I'm gonna say that the selection committee is spot on, the cohort always wins. It's always just the right people that are supposed to be exactly where they're supposed to be, who are gonna learn, who are gonna stretch, who are gonna grow, who are gonna pour. And we just go from there. So I wouldn't say take the questions, because it's not, and I researched, I do best practices. So I've looked at about 25 other leadership programs, both in higher ed and out. We're the most affordable. We're the only one who really offers coaching, not mentoring and not peer mentoring, but coaching. So not only through the cohort do you get peer mentoring by osmosis, but you truly get a coach and an executive coach, someone who is in the field, who, as mentioned, leads you from the space that you are. You also get registration for 2 conferences. When I was in NACADA, I didn't even get that, and that's not to compare NACADA. So I know that this program sits different. There is a financial investment, but it is not as hefty as others for the benefits that you get. You do not even have to be in the enrollment sphere. We've had individuals from academic affairs. So we're looking to diversify as much as possible the types of roles that are in there. But once the cohort comes together, so I would say when it's for you and you're honest in your answers, that's when it's like, it's for me. And I know that probably didn't answer questions, because they're like, what's the real answer? It's just not. We just got to trust the process. And I think that's the beauty of this program. And then there was another question that I want to answer really quickly, and it's, what's the difference between SEM EP and Ascend? So consider the SEM Institute, which is where you come to the SEM conference and you do a pre-conference session on Saturday and Sunday with a coach, with a team. That's almost like getting your bachelor's degree. It's an introduction into what SEM really is. Ascend takes that a step further, and we consider ourselves on a spectrum of learning continuums and trajectories. We're a master's program, right? This is where bachelor's is done. I kind of had to work my way through it. Master's is what I really want to do. I'm really trying to hone my skills. I'm really trying to direct my path. And I'd love to know that I'm on a set way to do it. And it has all of the benefits that we explained. Now moving to SEM-EP. SEM-EP is not competitive. Anyone can apply to it. It's a rolling basis. They start a cohort in the fall and they start a cohort there is no formal coaching. And I know that there is a colleague on here who just MEP about a year ago, who, if you want to dive in and expand on what I'm saying, please feel free to do so. But there's no coaching. It's rolling admissions. It's a cohort in that you're working with that fall or spring cohort, and you have a 3-part process to do. And you can do that over the course of, I believe, 2 to 3 years. So you do a foundation course, you do another course, and you do the final course, which is a capstone. These things are done as you move up, but it's never in full tandem with other people. It's very much individualized. So think of it as a PhD program. Think of it as an online PhD program. You do get to meet with your colleagues when you come to SEM, if you're able to come to SEM, but there's no SEM conference build-in. With it here in Ascend for your master's, it's very much like cohort based. We're working on this together. We're moving through this project together. And so I hope that explains some of the nuances of the program. And then there's a SEM endorsement badge that you get, but it's almost like having a doctoral level certificate, right? Because you are the creme de la creme in enrollment. You have on-site field studies that you all can do as a part of the SEM-EP program. We work together with the coach, so you get the field experience embedded. So it's just a little bit of difference, and the cost structure is also different. So cohort structure, a little bit more of do it at my own pace for the SEM-EP program.
And if I could just jump in, I would say if you're thinking about both, I would recommend this one as the first one because life gets so busy, the cohort and the coaching really just encourages you to continue. Whereas other times, if I were doing this online, I mean, I would have checked out so many times because life's. And so I think this is the better model to start with. And now that I'm so interested in it, I would consider going into the EP, knowing how much work it's going to be, but just knowing that's going to further sharpen. So that's my personal recommendation, but do what feels right for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Sarah, thank you for that pause to get some of these questions answered. I know me and Bethany commented on a New Soul question about imposter syndrome. And I like to call it imposter moments, just because it's a moment, just like you get nervous at times, it's a moment. Then after you complete or after you're done, you're like, wait, why was I even nervous? Why was I even feeling like I cannot do this? Because I just did it. When I sometimes feel those imposter moments, I reflect and I say, so I'm feeling like I should not be here, even though I've done this job for X amount of years, even though I have shown that I'm capable of doing it, even though my boss or my supervisor or my colleagues have endorsed me, have recommended me, have said that this is a great person to have on this committee or to have, for this new project, but I'm still feeling like that I cannot do it. Why is that? Then once I reflect and I start answering that question to myself, I'm like, wait, no, I can. And another great quote, I'm a quote guy. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. You're right. So it just takes that mental breakthrough of saying, I can do this. And guess what? You're going to do it. You do it, period. And that may not be as helpful as it is to me. So Bethany, maybe you have something a little bit more.
You did a great job, Tony.
Educational, but that's
I,
my experience.
yeah, imposter moments is something that I've also shifted my language from imposter syndrome to moments. And that came out of our last webinar as a cohort. We were talking about imposter syndrome, and several people were like, no, it's just a moment. And that really resonated with me because when I was applying to the Ascend program, I had one of those moments. Is this a good fit for me? Is this something I'm capable of doing? I had another one when we were matched with our coaches. Am I going to meet this coach's expectations? Am I going to be able to form a relationship with her and be the person that she wants to coach throughout this program? And then lastly, when we were about to get on stage for our capstone presentations, that was a huge imposter moment of, can I really present my thoughts in front of all these people at a general session? And we all did it and we made it happen. And now we feel amazing about our accomplishments. So I think exactly what Tony said, it's moments and you just have to do it afraid. Because at the end of the day, you're stretching yourself and you're gonna get to that next level because of it.
Absolutely. Great questions. Great questions. Thank you all for them. Please keep them coming. I know we have about 15 minutes left on the call, but if there's anything else that you're itching to ask, do it. Do it. Do it. Sarah, I don't know if you want to jump back in and can complete that. I can't even remember what I asked you.
I think you asked me about my vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
When I applied, or maybe through the program. And I'm thinking about, I mean, there's so many. Talk about imposter moments. I mean, I think one reason why I'm a hype person is because I have them a lot. Imposter moments. Like I try to grow. It's something that is just really important to me. I want to learn. I want to grow. I have this great desire to progress, or I get, like Leah has mentioned, like super bored. And when I'm bored, I can get destructive. So growing is way better. Um, but it is sometimes terrifying. And I also have worked in institutions that have been very unkind and like have hazed me, like trauma, right? Like that I'm also trying to release. So I haven't always had really supportive supervisors. It doesn't mean I wasn't doing great work, but I have been bullied. I've been attacked. I mean, there's definitely been trauma. So I think sometimes um I can forget who I am and my value, and I'll just reflect. I'll be like stuck in that, that bullying moment. So I think definitely doing things afraid is a way to relearn again, like to be back into in the here and now, and just reminding myself that, like, yes, I can grow and I can do this and it's fine. Like nothing, no disaster is going to happen. And if I bombed that, it's a learning experience and that's okay. And is it really a bomb, or did I just feel like it was a bomb? So I think those are some things I've been reflecting on since the program, and some of my vulnerabilities. I think just in general, when I applied and just was starting out early on, it really was, kind of a tendency of feeling like, I think my kind of go-to is like I need more information. Sometimes I can get stuck in, I don't have enough within myself or experience or whatever to do X. There's experts out there and they know what to do, and I need to learn from them. And I think that's true, can always learn, but I also think that I have learned through this program that I actually have, like, I'm also an expert. I am an expert. And I can still continue to learn, but there's a lot of stuff that I already know. There's a lot of stuff that I've shared that's helped other people. There's a lot of things that I just intrinsically knew how to do well, and now I have more information that supplements that knowledge. But it doesn't mean that I was lacking the knowledge. So those are some things that I think that are vulnerabilities that are not just moment, they're ongoing. They're little moments, but they're things I continue to struggle with. But the reframe of this coaching and kind of that time to self-evaluate has helped me catch them earlier, of like, oh, you're going down this path, or oh, you're working on perfectionism now. So like, what are you thinking that makes you feel like you have to be perfect? Okay, now let's dial back. Like, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? Like, let's put the perfection aside. I'm giving myself permission to do like maybe 50% work, because it's still going to be amazing. My 50% is actually really good. I'm like, let me just get to where I'm trying to go. And sometimes that means I have to call my cohorts or other people to say like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can I chat with you? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I feel like we've gotten through most of our questions, so I'll just throw it back to the group here, to our C4 graduates. Is there anything that you feel like that was transformational, the most transformational part of the Ascend program? And it could be anything. I know we've been kind of talked about the whole program, but what was most transformational? Um, and I'll say for me, it was the connections that we were able to build and also presenting at the SEM conference. I think that was the most transformational, um, because as Sarah said, we were all kind of scrambling to figure out what we were going to do. And Bethany talking about having that imposter moment, like, can we really do this? It's so early in the morning, it's after the election, and we did it. So I think that was transformational. And so I think Bethany may put in the chat, somebody put in the chat that we can do hard things, we can do tough things, we can do scary things. So whatever it is, once again, if you think you can do it, you can. So that's for me. What else
Tony,
is
I just got to find out, how did you feel literally like the moment you were walking on the
yeah.
stage and then the moment you left the stage? How did you feel?
Walking on stage, because Sarah had a great idea that we all had intro music. So I think that kind of hyped me up a little bit. My song was Hey Ya by Outkast, if any of y'all familiar with that group. So when I got on stage, I was feeling kind of jittery. And then I said the first few words, and then it just all flowed. Like I just felt perfectly fine. Then when I got off stage, I was like, I did it. I killed that. You know, what was I nervous for? So yeah, that's how I felt. Great question, Sarah. What about anybody else? What was most transformational thing?
Well, yeah, I want to hear from you. But Bethany, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the presentation probably was the most transformational for me as well. It all kind of stemmed from a quick email to Jonica of, wait, I thought we were presenting our capstone presentations at SEM. And when I sent that email to her, I thought, oh, it'll just be a breakout session. And then as it kind of continued to morph into presenting in front of this at a general session in front of everybody, that was really darn scary. So I think that that was the most transformational part of the program alongside the connections. Like I know that I can reach out to anybody from this program, from our guest speakers to our cohort members to the ACRO staff, and I know that they'll always be there for me, personally and professionally.
Bethany, before and after stage, how did you feel?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Before I went on stage, I was really nervous. I was number 4 to present. So I had seen some really killer presentations. And it was that moment of, can I do this? And yeah, that music started going on, and you just kind of get wrapped up in the moment as you're presenting. And then as I was walking off stage, like it just was a huge sigh of relief and a I did it moment. And I can do anything now.
Thanks, Bethany. I totally good. Perfect music for you as well. Leah, you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go.
Okay. I'm not ready. I think I definitely think the cohort experience of just, I mean, there's so many pieces, having the coach really was so dynamically shifted how I see myself as a higher ed professional, and then also just myself as myself is so foundational. I think just being in this cohort, in this learning, like being able to fail to be like raw, messy, not knowing what I'm talking about, like imperfect in a professional environment with peers who are in the industry has just also been a real gift, because we don't often get to do that. We're always concerned about how we're presenting. Is it meaningful? Is it, professional? And it's like a really great space to be able to be messy and real. And then you're like, wait, everybody feels like this too. Or like we have so many connections, or, oh, I could learn from them. So I think that was really meaningful. But yeah, I think really just challenging myself, like literally is the first time I put it in the chat. I felt like a booked speaker, like walking in and my face is, 100, whatever, 100 by 100 on this wall. And me and my cohort members are like showcased throughout of like, we're having this presentation and these are the speakers. And I was terrified to speak. And I just was like, what, like, this is for real. And then being there, and then, I posted the picture behind the scenes of my family, and they're like, that looks like a for real TED Talk. Like, it's given me confidence of like, wow, could I ever do that? Not could I, that's probably not the right way to say it, but like, this could be a future if I wanted to do that, I guess is what I would say. So just has expanded what I feel is possible for me. So that's what I would say. What would you say, Leah? Before and after, I felt like, how in the world am I going to start this off in this audience right after the election? And I literally don't know what I'm going to say, and I haven't practiced it. Terrified. But then I was hyping everybody up at the table, and I was like, I don't know what's going to come out, but like, universe help me, and they did. And then when I got off, I felt relieved and like so excited to hear from my colleagues.
Um, so I think I would echo what everybody else said, from the cohort to the coaching piece of that. Oddly enough, well, I'll get to that last. I would say the most impactful or transformational part for me, I think, was just being validated in how I think. I think sometimes, as a woman, and particularly as a woman of color, some of the I ask great questions. I dig 4 layers deep, and I think that that's not always appreciated. And so being able to work with my coach and talk with my cohort members about some of this stuff really just validated that I bring value and I have a great skill set to what I'm doing, to the work that I do. So I think that was the most impactful. Now, I will say I was not as nervous and worried as probably many of my cohort. I mean, I was more like, I thought we were doing a panel. I'm not here for this. And Jonica had to talk me off the cliff, but I was not in terms of getting up there. But I think what made it even better for me is that prior to the event, the talk, I had sent my thoughts to Jody Gordon, who was my coach and amazing. And I said, here's what I'm thinking. Here's all the things I think about SEM. And she was like, oh my God, this is your talk right here. I might pull some of this for my presentation. And I was like, oh, I've arrived. But yeah, I don't think I was as nervous. If anything, I thought, I don't have enough time to talk about this, and you expect me to talk in 8 minutes. That's just great. I probably thought more of that than just gotta be nervous about, because I was so new to SEM, and I think I had learned quite a bit just about SEM in general. So yeah.
Yeah, and Leah, you stayed in that 8 minutes too, so that was successful.
Stuff I was actually supposed to say, on top of the fact that I couldn't see. Like, I literally, I don't know. I was just going with the flow from memory at that point.
That's funny. No, yeah, we all did a great job, and like I said, I think nobody regrets presenting as SEM and the decision to join the SEN. So I hope this was impactful for you all. I enjoyed just being able to connect back with my cohort colleagues and with Jonica. And please reach out if you all have any questions. We can drop our LinkedIn or whatever contact information y'all want to put in the chat. So you all can reach out and ask us any more follow-up questions you may have. But I'll pass it back to you, Jonica. Thanks again.
Oh my gosh, this conversation has been long overdue. Tony is like, how do we converse about some of our experiences, and Sarah as well? So they dreamed up this 4-part series where we didn't have to sell, right? That's not the goal. I think the goal is to focus on their unique pockets of community in various places and making sure that people understand how community relates to professional development. And that, I believe, was the objective of the series of the conversations that you've seen us have. So you can watch the recordings because Velma has been recording them and putting them up on the website. So if you're interested in any of the other conversations that we've had with other colleagues who are in the program about why they chose it, what they're doing, how they manage time, our previous conversation last month in October, we had a couple of people who had some very hard situations happen, like they lost dear family members, and they had moves, and they had some other traumatic situations that happened while they were in the Ascend program, and two are also in doctoral programs at the same time. So what does it mean to like balance professional development, and how does community help that focus? So what we've hoped to do is help other individuals see the importance of connection, community, and not being in the space alone. The number one isolation for us, the number one issue for most Americans, and I would say humans, is isolation, right? So when you start to think thoughts on your own, that's when imposter syndrome moments start to seep in, and am I right? And feeling, feeling like you're in spaces where you are not being validated because no one's saying anything, but, learning how to word the question a little bit better so that you can get the answer that you need, but also saying, you don't get all of me today. You don't get to tell me how it is that you see me because of how it is that I show up at work, but you also don't get to judge me on this day by this one action that I am, and feeling the weight of that. So when you're able to work with your coach, but also with your community, and they will WhatsApp each other and chat each other, they got group me's and they had Slack, like when you have these spaces where you can say mid-level to mid-level to someone who's not at your institution, am I looking at this correctly? What do y'all think about this? And they can give you perspective. I think that's beautiful, right? Because many of our family and friends do not understand the work that we do. Higher education it's a very interesting space to be in, and they're always like, you can leave, and you're like, what? This is my calling. How dare you? I need you to support me in this space. And I think that's the larger crux of where we sit as mid-level individuals, right? You're not doing the frontline work anymore, but you still miss it. And you're like, but I want to ascend. And how do I make sure that this is authentic? And I want to do what someone else did for me, but you don't have any cover. And you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate that cover and that advocacy and that level of sponsorship? So when you're able to build community, it just works out perfectly. But we are here. They've put their LinkedIn's there. It is not just me who oversees this program. I go back to my scholars and say, what additional resources, services, how can we expand this? How can it be more accessible? How can it be more inclusive to other individuals? And I listen to what they say because they've been a part of it. If they say they want to do something, I'm like, come in. And when I tell you Tony and Sarah and Leah and Bethany jumped on this call, and other individuals for other calls, they're like, let's talk, let's have this. So we really want to define and create a safe space for mid-level individuals who are often left in this unique chasm of the world and of work. But we are here for you. We love talking progression and movement and ascend. And it doesn't have to be ascend as a program. It could be ascend as a mindset. How do we move forward? How do we support each other? How do we build stronger networks and weave? So do know that you don't have to join the program to connect with us. It can be anything. I love what you said. I appreciated your thoughts. Thank you so much. I'd love to stay in contact with you. You seem like a dope person. I'm not too far from Berkeley. I love to connect with you and meet with you for lunch there. I'm sure she would love that. And same for Tony if you're near, or Leah and Bethany. So this is Acro, right? This is what we do. This is how we love. This is how we show and support one another. So don't feel that you only have to communicate with us about the Ascend program, but you can communicate with us as fellow colleagues in the enrollment management field. And we thank you so much for joining us today. We do have a mini poll that I'm going to launch. Just let us know your thoughts. And yep, it's already up. Please do give us your thoughts about today's webinar. And if you have any questions, we look forward to hearing back from you soon. Take care. And thank you, amazing panel.
Thank you. We really do want to connect. So please don't hesitate. Don't have an imposter moment. Just connect. We want to.
Thanks, Jonica. Bye.
Thanks
you.
all.
Okay.
Thank you.